Welcome to the October 19th, 2021 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we have another really great show here for you. We are jumping right into it so we can get going, but Valve has really done something kind of oddly progressive, Lotus, this week.
What?
and also like they're like doing it like ahead of trouble, which is kind of
Yeah,
unlike
that is
them.
pretty nice. Yeah.
But they are banning games that utilize NFTs and cryptocurrencies as, transactional kind of things. So here's the thing that you might not know about Valve and their like current like operating model. They have long been battling organized crime within using their platform as something that they can do money laundering through. In particular, what a lot of criminals have been doing is they will transact through like the skins and things like that, rare goodies that are worth something in online games, particularly in Counter-Strike and Dota 2. I don't even understand how there's even a marketplace for this crap, because it's all like visual nonsense.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? It doesn't even change how the game is played at all. But for some reason, like, rare skins are worth hundreds of dollars. Like, I don't get it. But it's a thing. But NFTs and cryptocurrencies have long had the problem of organized criminals using them because they're not as regulated or traced or logged or anything. And it's worth something, and the ease of use. This kind of thing has been used for a long time on like the dark web, and it's a thing. If you knew that, if you're big into cryptocurrency and you didn't think that was a problem, you're very naive. It's a big problem, and organized crime really flocks to it because of its unregulated nature. So Valve is being proactive and going ahead and saying, hey, we don't want any part of that. We are going to stay away from it. They want as few eyes on them as possible, in terms of being, regulated by the government and things like that. I would even think that they would be, very averse to, the government hopping in on things like loot boxes and things like that too. So they're very averse to that kind of thing. So, and rightfully so. And then what happened right after that, Lotus? That right after them announcing it.
Oh, I think I do. I see these show notes. I think I do.
Well, you knew this already as well, because I'm sure you followed it a little bit. But Epic Games came out and said, "Oh no, you can go ahead and come on down." And,
Yeah, this is what I get for giving Epic credit a week or two ago. Now they can go back to fucking themselves.
Yeah, I mean that's they did the scuzzier move by saying, we're okay with the problems that these things have, by nature. Now, I have to admit here that Valve did not specify why they banned it, because they probably don't want to get into a political discussion by the very adamant fan base of these things, and the people that are really into NFTs and cryptocurrencies are really into them. I don't know if you've ever like encountered them on Twitter or anything, but like
to a small degree,
it's almost like a religion. Like they put so much stock and belief in them.
I really want the URL for this incredibly shitty drawing.
Yeah, exactly. I want this meme from 10 years ago. I want Rick Astley. It's such bullshit. But anyway, it's like, yeah, I don't get it. But anyway, here's the thing. This is why Val banned it. I mean, this is undeniably why they did it. There's a lot of problems with these two things. They're pretty much related. And Epic will do anything for $1, and they're okay with it. I mean, they're also, second banana to Steam, so they are doing everything they can in order to get an edge. So they're like, hey, come here with your shitty, NFT game, and bring your creeps with you. We're okay with you playing in our sandbox. So it doesn't sit well with me, Lotus, but I'm sure there is some justification somewhere that somebody has, but I don't buy it. Moving on from that, we have Nintendo Online Expansion Pack has been basically totally revealed, and Nintendo came out and this is the service, the upgraded service from their online Switch service, which normally just includes their online play as much as you want to admit that people want to admit that it's not the best in terms of lag and gameplay and all that kind of stuff, and its inconsistencies, but it is going from $20 to $50 a year. Now, keep in mind that $20 was an insanely good deal for any online service from an annual perspective. It's what like less than $2 a month. And it's crazy, the value that people were getting in that just for the access to the NES and Super NES content alone. I mean, you would be paying essentially for the price of 3 Super Nintendo games. You get access to both of those consoles, but I can see why some people balked at the raising of the price. I mean, you are getting N64 and Genesis games, and to me those are worth the price for me. But also it's really just bringing in line with the other guys. I mean, I think PlayStation Plus is $60, so this is $50 a year. So it's a little bit still cheaper than that. So what they can do, what would be really good, is if they really improved their online quality, their netcode and all that stuff. They really should work on that. But I think that the pricing isn't out of whack. I thought it was actually like a bargain before. I thought it was like really cheap, but I think it's a fair price. Though they still should work on the quality of the online. I should also mention that is just for the single license. For the family, group licenses, I think you get 5 licenses for different profiles, for $80 a year. And they also, over the weekend, put on N64 and Genesis Switch controllers. These are the recreations of those two systems. And they sold out within 2 days. So people did have some time in order to purchase them. So that was good. Unlike everything else in recent memory,
everything for real.
Everything sells out within minutes anymore. Anytime I want something, I have to battle for it, which is becoming ridiculous. But 2 days is better than that than what I've been dealing with recently, where shit is sold out within minutes. But I do find the quality of the controllers that they're putting out to be really cool. I'm not big on the Genesis one specifically because I'm a little miffed that they're not releasing the 6-button Genesis controller. It is a much better controller in every single fucking way, including the D-pad construction, I might mind you. But the N64 one, I actually went ahead and pre-ordered because it was $50, and I think that's well worth it for a brand new recreation of that particular controller, and it's very idiosyncratic controller. It's like probably the most
no kidding
unique mainstream first party controller ever. And so like the games that were released for that console feel best with that controller in a lot of ways. So I went ahead and did that, and what extra feature they have there, Lotus, that I wasn't expecting?
The only thing I could think of is either like it's going to be the packs. Like I don't imagine you would need a memory pack because at this point you could just save it digitally. So I'm assuming Rumble pack because every controller after the N64 one just has a Rumble.
Yeah, spot on. It has included a Rumble. There is no expansion pack. The one that where you could put in like Pokemon or something like that.
Oh, the transfer.
There's no
pack?
space for it. The transfer pack.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That would be
That's
the expansion
pack
specific, but that'd be cool.
Was the RAM expansion?
Yeah, expansion went into the console itself. Yeah, the RAM pack. But yeah, transfer was actually how I played Pokemon. I didn't own a Game Boy until a 3DS, so. A new 3DS, in fact, the XL. So I played Pokemon via the transfer pack on the TV. That's how I played Yellow.
Yeah, but I should reiterate that I think it's totally worth it to get the N64 controller. I think it's really cool. I'm not the biggest fan of the N64, but I do love the actual hardware. But I do love the games, and I have to admit that the games feel best with that. It's kind of like GameCube games. GameCube games feel best with the GameCube controller because that is also another idiosyncratic controller. It's not like anything else.
What, you wouldn't rather play Smash Brothers with the stupid Wiimote?
That's another idiosyncratic controller. I guess Nintendo was known for it until the Joy-Cons. The Joy-Cons, I mean, they do have extra features, but essentially they are a split version of the controller that is standard elsewhere, right? So 4 face buttons, two sticks, and 4 shoulder buttons, right? And a start and a pause button with other menu buttons. So but I think that this is something cool, so I picked one up. Also, they revealed more about the new content coming to Animal Crossing, which they teased with the Nintendo Direct. It is going to be paid DLC for $24.99 a la carte, a la carte.
Hey, that guy was in Smash too.
No bug. Animal Crossing Happy Home Paradise is also included with the Nintendo Online expansion pack. If you are into Animal Crossing, and I know a lot of people are, and the online features of Animal Crossing are some of the more prevalent ones, and a lot of people who play Animal Crossing do indulge in the online features from Nintendo Online. I mean, this is a kind of a no-brainer because half of your subscription is included with this DLC. It's a lot of stuff is being added, including Lottie and Paradise Planning, which is where your character can plan and build a vacation home, which is kind of funny because I always kind of view Animal Crossing as being on vacation anyway, but it's a vacation from your vacation, Lotus.
That's like going back to work.
What's cool about this is that they're adding all kinds of customization features and all kinds of new items to buy, and even new infrastructure that you can add for the vacation homes, as well as basically like a new quest line in where you can plan your villagers' vacation homes with them, and they'll give you they'll tell you guidelines for what they want, and then you have to set that up for them. I think that's pretty cool to give you something to do in this game and give you certain goals to fulfill. And they are also adding Brewster's Roost Cafe to the museum, which is a place where you can do like the online meetup stuff, and basically it's just like a cool area for your character to hang out in. And also they're adding, this is the big thing, cooking and farming to align stuff more with Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon.
Yeah, that's significant.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Now, say what you want about Animal Crossing. I mean, if you are into the specific kind of like loop games, that mobile. A lot of mobile games will get you into, and like doing your dailies and collecting different currencies and things like that, and then getting the things that you want, and then having to do things at certain times and doing special things and special events. I can understand why people really like this and will get addicted to it, but it's really not for me. I've decided. And I know, Lotus, you're not into that kind of thing at all.
Yeah,
but
like Animal Crossing, like it's not my kind of game anyway. Although I totally get it, but I prefer having games where I can play and reach some sort of end state. And I know you could pay off Tom Nook, but like you're really supposed to just vibe with the game the whole time. So it's not really my thing. Plus, I very much dislike dailies, like feeling like a compulsion to come back or I'll miss something. Or
I don't have the time for that.
Yeah, or even worse, times where the game says like, well, you have to wait X amount of time before doing it again. Like, fuck you, I'm playing now. So like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm out.
See, I have very little free time for video games these days, and like I'll play a game when I want to. So like doing something like the turnip game, which only appears during the weekend, that's ridiculous to me.
Yes, I know it is just a game, but it feels like work, where it's like, well, you finally reached a weekend, but you really should be doing this. Like, well, it's not fun anymore if you should be doing it.
Yeah, you can't go into the shop right now because it's 10 o'clock at night, even though that's the only freaking time I can play the game.
Yeah, fuck you.
Exactly.
Although, could you just adjust your system's clock? Although, not that you should have to.
Animal Crossing, it particularly knows when you've messed with it.
Okay.
It doesn't let you save scum. Let's just put it that way. It has a lot of I'm sure you could do it to some degree, but it'll catch you eventually. And they'll yell at you for it. It's a thing that Mr. Rossetti used to do, like in the previous titles. But I mean, I think that I'll pay for the $50 expansion pack just because I want to have access to the Genesis and N64 games. They have already added a lot of the titles that I really want. Granted, I already have access to Castlevania Bloodlines and Contra Hardcore, which are two of the ones that I would want in there. But like, I still think it's really cool that they included them in the initial offering. I do want to play Phantasy Star 4. I think that'll be a lot of fun, and I do want to play the Shining Force games. And I do want to play the N64 games. Like the N64 games that they're including are basically all the really good ones. Like they're basically including all of Nintendo's N64 games.
Mace the Dark Age. Big ones.
But Biofreaks.
Yeah,
that's the one I always mention.
I was actually going to mention that, but I'm like, I'll change it to the other thing that you've seen in the store but never bought.
Like War Gods, crappy Midway games from that era.
I think I might actually have that on PC.
Yeah, it's not good. But yeah, I'm excited enough for it. So and they're doing everything that I want. So the next one is yours, Lotus.
Yeah, there's been another character reveal for King of Fighters 15. It's Hydron, who is a military, I was going to say officer, I don't know, a military person who is of some high rank because Blue Mary had an interaction with him where she's like, damn, this must be serious indeed if you're coming out on the front lines. But he loves his poses, he loves his knife slashes with his bare hands. He kind of reminds me of a male Leona. Like I don't know KOF lore that well, so I don't know if they actually are affiliated in some way, but I just kind of get that vibe off of him, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I get the impression that this game in particular is kind of like the end all be all for KOF. It's like a huge celebration of the series. They're including lots of characters.
Yeah, lots of characters and lots of music too. If you look at their sound test, shatter all expectations.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this may be one of the best entries in the series. Just kind of like Samurai Showdown was. Like the newest Samurai Showdown is a fantastic game.
Sure,
it's really really good. Actually, SNK has been kind of knocking it out of the park with their new titles, like their newly developed titles lately. So I think that this has potential to be a really good game. So I wish them well because SNK's always been kind of the underdog. They used to be the ones nipping at Capcom's heels, and then they were kind of like neck and neck with them for a little bit, and then they lost it entirely. And they kind of had some rebuilding to do, and I think they are coming back as kind of like the underground hero, the underdog, and not only that, but like Capcom is friendly with them these days. They're kind of like we've been through the shit together, kind of things. You know, a lot of Japanese companies don't really see each other as competition anymore. You know what I mean? Like Nintendo really embraces like Sega, for instance.
Sure.
You know, given Nintendo dominated them, but there doesn't seem to be any hard feelings.
Sega isn't exactly making a rival console anymore.
Exactly, but still, they, you know, you see in things like Smash Brothers, you know, how many multiverses they brought together there. You know what I mean? Like you have SNK, you have Capcom, you have Namco, you have Tecmo in there at some point. You know. So, Nintendo and Tecmo are pretty close as it is, but, like, you know, it's just one of those things. Koei Tecmo.
Yeah, that actually, I didn't know what to think when I saw the assist trophy of, like, the Fatal Frame twins from Fatal Frame 2. I was like, what?
Yeah. They've kind of, ever since, like, the Wii era, I think, like, Koei Tecmo and Nintendo have kind of been buds. Like,
Fatal Frame 4 was, and is, a Wii exclusive.
Well, yeah, not only that, but they also have been doing the Musou games together, and Hyrule Warriors really kind of broke some barriers there, when that came out. So
there is that, but the hundreds of thousands of other Warriors games are on other platforms as well.
Yeah, but you don't expect like Nintendo to go for it, you know, and also I'll allow them to basically make a unique entry in one of their largest franchises with a storied history.
Yeah, speaking of which, that and Cadence of Hyrule was, like, shocking.
Oh, yeah. The Cadence of Hyrule is the even more shocking, if you ask me. I still don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo is very protective to the point where, you know, they don't want to... They want whatever's happening to be extremely good quality and all that kind of stuff.
And there's also the Mario Cross Rabbids, whatever that game was called.
Yeah. Well, that one, but the indie game end of it is what really shocked me, because, like, you know, the Ubisoft, you know, that's a co-sponsorship. They didn't have to work with a small indie team.
Yeah.
You know, that made only really one game before. And to allow them to make a unique entry in a like one of their biggest franchises is really funny to me. I still don't know how they pulled that off, but yeah, with Zelda they kind of allow a little bit of outsourcing. I mean, ever since Capcom made the Ages games, they do allow a little bit of outsourcing with Zelda, oddly enough. But anyway, the Oracle games, rather, I should say.
Ages was one of them, and Seasons was the other.
Exactly. But really interesting stuff. This next item is yours as well, Lotus.
Yeah, this was a pleasant surprise. A while ago, we had reported that one of Sega's biggest, arcades in Japan had closed down, Ikebukuro. But wait, it's reopening across the street. It's coming back, baby.
It's probably one of those things where maybe it's a smaller space, or here's the thing: when your place has been at a certain location for a very long time, the landlords might be complacent with the fact that you've been there forever, so you'll continue to pay them a high rent. So they might have been able to negotiate with a different landlord and be like, hey, we need a more reasonable rent than we were getting across the street. So that's good. That's good news. I'm sure it'll be a different layout and all that jazz, but it's great that it's not dead. It just moved basically. So That's cool. Moving on from that, I just wanted to talk about a few games that did come out on Switch this week. Some unusual ones. So the first is Mon Amour. I brought this up because last week, this is the game by Onion Games that is kind of a spiritual successor to Tulip, if you can even fucking believe that.
I've been waiting years for this.
So this is the company that made Moon, and Gifpia, Tulip, tons of weird, offbeat, weird ass games. Let's just put it that way. Opuna on the Wii, just all kinds of crazy stuff. But in recent years, Onion Games has Rule of Rose. I'm forgetting that.
Yeah, they did tie into that. Yeah.
Yeah. So but in recent years, they've been making actually a lot more mainstream titles that have been very, very good. I might add. They made Blackbird, which is kind of like Defender if Defender had a story, like a complex story, and people really, really do love that game. So I thought that was a wonderful addition. But they've made a few other games that like the Onion Hotel game. What else have they made? I just have really enjoyed the Moon RPG, Dandy Dungeon, which I thought was really, really good. If you have a chance and you like quirky Japanese games, Dandy Dungeon on Switch is really fun. I really like that. But they were like, we're releasing a spiritual successor to Tulip called Mon Amour. So it's an action kissing game rather than a adventure game, which is what Tulip was. So I hope it's very much less frustrating. Also, I don't know if you knew these games back in the day, Lotus, but they were kind of like doujin shmups that were pretty popular in that segment of the community back when we were in college. So you had a chance of maybe stumbling across them. But there was these games made by an indie developer who just put these games out for free on his website called ABA Games, and probably the most prominent was this shmup called rRootage or rRootage. I think it's rRootage because it's Japanese. But did you ever hear of this?
Nope.
He made quite a few other games, and a lot of them were just kind of indie exercises, if you were, but this game was a lot of fun. It basically plays teaches you the skills needed in order to play bullet hell games, if that makes sense. It starts you off pretty simply. It doesn't have any story or anything. It's just all wireframe, but what it does is it kind of leads you into harder and harder aspects of the genre, if that makes sense. And kind of teaches you how to play the basics, and also like makes it better. But they put out a remastered version on the Switch of all things. The same developer had put some of those games in the Blastworks game on Wii. Have you ever heard of Blastworks?
I've seen it on shelves.
Okay, so it's basically kind of like Katamari meets a shmup, if that makes any sense. Like you collect like the bad guys and kind of like form them into like a big ball of ships. It's really interesting, but they remastered some of the games that they had made on their website as like special features of that game. But this is by itself, and I was excited for that. And also, this week we saw the release of Back 4 Blood. Have you heard about Back 4 Blood?
I've heard the name.
So it is the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, as you might guess.
Oh, so I'm not interested.
I do like Left 4 Dead. I can understand why you don't like it because you're not a big multiplayer fan.
I just immediately don't care, and I know it's a good game. I've seen it played. Like, it's entertaining.
Yeah,
it's
just not your thing. Yeah, I get it, but this is something that I would play just because it's a tight knit group of people. It's just like 4 people, and you're trying to get from one place to the other, and there's a more of a collection aspect than existed in Left 4 Dead, so there's a reason to replay. You're collecting like these deck cards, and you're basically doing it for the collectibles and the different like abilities and things like that. So it is made by the same people who made Left 4 Dead. They left Valve and formed their own studio. So I actually would like to see this kind of thing because it's the people who gave you what you wanted are initially like going out and doing their own thing and continuing on that path, which I think is really cool. I have to say that I really enjoyed Left 4 Dead back when it originally came out. I put it in some good amount of hours playing that, so I could imagine me liking this kind of thing. So if any of my friends started playing it, I would probably get into it. And this is a sad day, Lotus. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl already has its, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I don't care. The one that rips off of Smash to the point where if you go flying off the screen, that like that effect happens from Smash. I can't believe nobody called them on that, like in an official context. Like, that's just the same thing.
We already have our first banned in tournament character.
This is really bad because I was practicing for hours for my Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl tournament scene.
Apparently, Michelangelo has an infinite that has not been patched out yet.
That is just a shame, man.
Michelangelo the Ninja Turtle.
You think you could trust the guy.
But yeah, apparently he has an infinite, so he's being banned from the first 4 money tournament of this particular game, which is really funny. Like, really, you already set up a tournament scene.
Yeah, for this game. I'm an esports champion of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl.
So ridiculous.
How much did you win? $10 because only 3 people are playing in high-level tournaments.
I'm sure it has a toxic community, even if there are only 3 people in it.
Yeah, I was going to say, give it time. It'll happen. Not because it's Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, but because it's an esports competition.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on from that, Analogue, the makers of the Analogue NT, Super NT, NT Mini, and
Mega SG,
and
the Pocket that I don't even know if it's shipped yet.
Yeah, it has not. Did a tease of an announcement that they were going to make, and then a couple days later, of course, came out with the actual announcement. They made it out to be a pretty damn big deal with the tease that they put out, because usually, a tease means something big. I really think they could have just came out with this news rather than teasing it, because it kind of like...
It's like, whatever.
Yeah, because a lot of people were like, this is cool, but you didn't need to do that.
Yeah, do like a dramatic reveal. Yeah.
Exactly. But what they revealed was a GUI-based OS that will be used with the Analogue Pocket. And they didn't specify this, but the impression was that they either were going to add this GUI-based interface to their current products, or at least the products moving forward. So that's the impression that they were giving. But essentially, what was cool about this is that it's easier to use. It has even some icons that are in there that are easy to use. And also, it organizes your ROMs for you and gives you screenshots of those games. So that's actually very particularly helpful. I think that's really cool that it has like the cool screenshot thing. But yeah, they also were saying that it's also a way where you can manage the fan created cores that they are touting as part of what the Analogue Pocket can do. Is they are allowing people to create their own fan created cores. So the interface apparently is what those devs will be using for that creation kind of thing. So I think it's neat, but also did not need a tease, that kind of thing. So
yeah.
And this next one is yours.
Yeah, although I don't have much to say. There's apparently a TV show in the works for, of all things in the world, System Shock. Yep.
Weird. Is it going to be... is the main character going to have a really hard time moving around, or does he at least have
he has to click somewhere to look up and look down.
And to crouch.
The presentation won't be great, but the voice acting will be fantastic.
I mean, I think this is rife for an adaptation. I think it'll be great to have something like that. So, especially with a character like Shodan. I mean, come on.
Just like sniping at you like endlessly throughout the show. You suck because you're flesh and blood. Shut up.
What if it's kind of like the Saturday morning cartoon kind of version? It's like, oh, that Shodan is at it again. She's gonna mess with my picnic.
Yeah, like Master Brain from or Mother Brain from Captain N.
Yeah, like, she's gonna steal my cereal. Oh God!
Yeah, don't you do it. Look at you, hacker. Oh, Shodan, we do this every time.
Oh, you scamp. But yeah, moving on from that, just wanted to give some impressions of some highly anticipated movies here. So, first impressions of the Dune movie, Frank Herbert's Dune, are apparently really, really good, and that actually makes me very happy because previous incarnations of Dune have been disappointing on some level. So the most famous disappointment being the film adaptation with Kyle MacLachlan in there by David Lynch of all directors.
Yeah, that's a weird director to get to do anything that's like not his own thing.
Yeah, but I mean, they had a star-studded cast. They had Patrick Stewart and Sting of all people, like Kyle MacLachlan of all people. I guess Kyle MacLachlan makes the most sense because he's tied to a lot of David Lynch projects, including Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet. But yeah, just like insane. It was an insane movie, and you know what? If you had read the book, you can kind of see what they were doing.
Yeah.
But if you hadn't, it was a fucking mess. So here's the thing about Dune is that it's a long book and has a lot of politicking involved if you want to properly tell the story.
Yep.
In fact, the entire series revolves around politics, and religion and how religion falls into politics, and resources and global economy and how it's involved in all that as well. So, the other major adaptation of Dune that had been out there was a sci-fi miniseries, which actually turned out pretty darn good.
Yeah, I remember seeing part of it.
But here's the thing: it was low budget. It was a sci-fi miniseries. It had good costuming. It had pretty good acting. But it didn't have the special effects that you would want it to have. Let's just put it that way. It didn't have the action that you'd want it to have. Like the action scenes just weren't there. But the directing was good. You could say that, but it was low budget. Let's just put it that way. The good thing was that the miniseries had the time to tell the whole story. So unlike the movie, it was a little bit better a lot better at telling the full depth of what was going on. This movie, they wisely split up the first book into 2 movies, and I think that's a great idea. It's not stretching it. It deserves 2 movies. I think they probably did a really good job. They'll probably just do like everything up until I think I know where they'll end the first movie, which is
the box of pain.
No,
the first movie's 10 minutes long, and the second movie's like 4 hours.
I was just gonna say that's the very beginning of the first book, but that's the first scene that the main character is in.
Yeah.
But I'm just really happy now. I honestly think that Dune should be like a television series.
Yeah.
Because there are so many books they could go on and on with it. But at least they are taking their time with it, and apparently this version's good, so I'm really happy. And they're kind of taking some visual influence from the David Lynch movies, if anything, which is the best part of the David Lynch movies is the weird versions of the still suits that they had and all that stuff. So
yeah,
I think that's pretty cool. But this is a big disappointment. I really liked the Halloween reboot that Jamie Lee Curtis was in, that Danny McBride wrote a couple years ago. Halloween Kills is apparently one of the worst in the series, and that's saying a lot. A lot of people are saying that it's bad, like worse than Rob Zombie Halloween bad. And I don't know how it could possibly be that bad. But because the Rob Zombie movies were, even for the time, 2 of the time, if that made sense. It was very Slipknot-y. You know what I mean? Like, it was very, Prince of Persia 2, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah, with the hair. I'm
just
badass and emo.
Emo for the sake of it, really edgy in places where it didn't need to be.
At least Rob Zombie rebooted. Prince of Persia was baffling because it's a sequel. The character just wasn't like that, and now he is.
Yeah, because they wanted to attract more people.
Yeah, that's where you want to come in the second game.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first game, didn't sell as well as they had hoped, so they were trying to, get more people, but that wasn't it. That wasn't the way. But so apparently it's not very good. I haven't really heard why. The only inkling that I got was that the story was very thin. So maybe it was just a lot of mindless killing.
That's kind of funny because the first movie invented the slasher genre, and it's there's a guy killing people. That's the movie.
Yep.
There's the doctor who is like, oh, I know this guy, he's fucked up. That's the movie. You can have a thin story, if you execute it well.
Yeah, that's why I don't always trust
I don't know how deep you wanted Halloween 17 to be.
Well, if they're negative, I don't always trust them. I trust them if they're positive, but negative impressions, I kind of like to make up my own mind about things. But I find it hard. hard time believing, with Jamie Lee Curtis involved and all that stuff, like that it's as bad as people are saying. But maybe I'm wrong. But
they could have, they could have had Busta Rhymes.
I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of bad Halloween movies. Like Halloween, like 4 through 6 are really, really bad.
Well, one of them was chopped up because Donald Pleasance just died while they were filming it or something.
Yeah, but that second trilogy is really bad. It's not good at all. And like anything after that is better than those 3 movies. So I find it hard to believe that it's anywhere as bad as that. But I guess I'll see. It's free on Peacock, so I might watch it there. Just out of morbid curiosity. And moving on from that. The new trailer for the Robert Pattinson Batman came out, and that's coming out in March next year.
You know what? It's a shockingly just beautiful looking trailer.
It looks good.
Like the way it's shot and the lighting and the coloring. It's like. This is gonna.
It's edgy, but not. Well, it's moody, but not
it's
edgy.
weird to describe because it's not as bright, pinkish as a John Wick 2 or anything, but it has a little bit of the colored vibe. I was gonna say the Schumacher Gotham, where it's all neon. It's not that far, but this has more reds and pinks than than Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah, it's not black light green
it's not just gray every single movie made in the mid 2000s. This has more color to it, but it's still Gotham still does not look like a fun place to be.
It does have that gothic look though. On top of that, and I think that it looks like the villain was revealed to be the Riddler, which the Riddler hasn't showed up in a Batman movie since the Adam West Batman movie.
Speaking of which, you know what I thought was fascinating?
I'm sorry, Jim Carrey. Oops, I forgot.
Yeah, disgraceful. But you know what I found fascinating about this trailer is that the first thing you see in the trailer is the Riddler getting arrested,
somebody who.
Maybe he was a stooge. Who knows? Yeah. But a guy is just sitting at a table drinking a coffee, or just having a cup of coffee in front of him. Cops arrest him just immediately. It's some guy. And then you see a top-down view of the cup. It's got the question mark in it, and you're like, oh, that's the
latte
villain?
foam. Yeah,
exactly. Because people do pictures in the latte foam sometimes, and this one's the question mark. So
yeah,
and Riddler could be arrested. I mean, his whole thing is scenarios. He can work as a villain. Honestly,
because he could probably just set up the wind up the clock and let it go. You know what I mean?
Why not? Yeah. I mean, that was the Dark Knight, wasn't it? The Joker was out causing trouble for the first third of the movie or so, but a lot of the crazy stuff he accomplished was while he was already in prison. He wasn't obviously doing riddles, but he had things that Batman had to do, all while the Joker himself was behind bars. So the Riddler, that's his bread and butter. Just sit back and watch things happen.
Yeah, and he's done that in more than a few of the comic book stories, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but, go ahead and arrest me. I've already set up the mechanisms. Arresting me wasn't the point. You're supposed to arrest me after you clear this shit. You arrested me before? Fine. You still have that shit to clear.
What I meant was, the Riddler was conspicuously absent from the Christian Bale movies, and he was never brought up in any of the other ones after that, the Ben Affleck stuff. So I think that he is long overdue. The last time we saw him was Jim Carrey in Batman Forever.
Yeah, and that was a throwback to the Adam West thing where he's just silly, but in a more serious universe, we haven't seen the Riddler since the animated series, or maybe one of the other animated Batmans after that. I don't know if he was in ironically enough, The Batman.
True story. I when I was a kid, my favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series, which was my favorite show during that era as well, but my favorite episodes were the Riddler episodes because I really like what they did.
Yeah, and those episodes, by the way, like that was the reason the Riddler was rarely in the show, was because they had to very carefully craft a Riddler episode.
His first episode is excellent.
Yeah, even I saw that one. That was great. He's got to go through that crazy labyrinth toward the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Minotaur maze.
Losers ahead.
What is as high as an elephant's eye?
Corn. What?
He's in the maze. What? Before your time. Yeah, exactly. It's a reference to Oklahoma. Now that I'm an adult, I know what that is.
This musical note has 2 sharps. This one has 3 sharps. This one has no sharps.
What like on a globe? What is in the world? What is the shortest distance? You know, what type of line has the shortest distance? And
well, on a globe, it's a curve, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you draw a straight line across a globe, if you wanted to actually navigate that path, you'd have a bad time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's actually pretty cool. That's also one of the best Robin episodes as well. I mean, Robin was handled very well in the cartoon show. He was always a teenager. He was never a little kid, so they kind of avoided like the little kid era of Robin and kind of just gave him the cool teenage Robin, Dick Grayson. They later added Robin 3, the third Robin. What's his name?
Well, it wasn't Jason Todd. Oh, Tim Drake.
Tim Drake, yeah.
By the way,
they added Tim.
You know what was also cool about that Riddler episode was that it was a pretty early episode. So what made it interesting is that
it's actually season 2.
It was season 2.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Even so, though, like he's been like he's had his experience being a villain like without Batman. Like he's an experienced villain when you first meet him. It's not like the Tim Burton movie where the Riddler gets his start like from Batman. Like Batman's fighting like new Joker. Like Riddler's been around, we just haven't seen him.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's also really good in the video games as well.
I quite liked him. Collecting all the trophies, especially in the third game, was exhausting. But the first
game was perfect.
Yeah, I really liked his just his extremely obnoxious attitude, but his clear insecurity, which the third game really pushed to the point where it got comical, especially in the DLC. But you could tell he has issues, and even in Arkham, I think it was City actually, where you hear the doctor at Arkham Asylum talking about the Riddler and interviewing him. Like, oh,
that's the first one. Yeah,
it was the first one. They talk about how he like just throws tantrums when he gets mad and stuff because he's very particular about things going his way, but he doesn't handle it well if it doesn't. He's just like, this sucks. Like, I'm not talking to you anymore. Stuff like that.
Yeah, my favorite revelation is that like his dad really put him down and said he was a cheater. And
that was a spectacular interview.
You started feeling bad for him, and then he was just like, "Well, no, he was right. I was a cheater."
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah, I remember that. Like there was a contest at school, $20 to the boy who could solve whatever problem, and I did it. Oh, so your dad must have been proud of you. Oh no, he beat me worse than ever. He kept saying, "Cheater! I know you cheated." And like, oh, that must have made you feel terrible. Like, well, not exactly. He was right. But what was also really good, by the way, I think I've mentioned this before, but you actually get to fight him if you somehow get every fucking trophy in Arkham City. But it's so good when he's attacking you. When he takes a swing at you, he goes like, "Die, father! I mean, Batman!" It's so good.
But getting back to the Robert Pattinson one, they also revealed that it looks like there's Catwoman in this, which they're jumping straight to Catwoman, which is
I haven't seen her since the final Nolan movie, the Bane one, Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, but she seems more. I think I'm going to be more satisfied with her this version.
Well, yeah,
of
this
her.
might be more established Catwoman character rather than a thief where you're like, I could see her becoming classic Catwoman. Because like the Anne Hathaway version, I'm like, I see where you're going. But with the new movie, it looks like they're already there.
Yeah, she's just, like playing cat and mouse with him.
That's her whole thing.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, Anne Hathaway did do that a little bit with Bruce Wayne. Like, they a little bit of a tease with that.
Yeah. But they also revealed the Batmobile as well, and
that was pretty cool.
I thought the new version of the Batmobile is more attractive than the Tumbler.
Tumbler, it reminded me of the Tumbler in how it got around, but like it's practical, but
it's kind of like a combination.
It did look more like a car.
it looks kind of like a combination of the Tim Burton Batmobile and like the Tumbler, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's more like solid, the Tumbler.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it was about the Tumbler. Like, it looked like it made sense, but it, like, if you said picture the Batmobile, that wouldn't have been it. Yeah,
it looked very sturdy. Let's just put it that way. Very concentrated, low center of gravity. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm actually, I'm a gigantic Batman fan, so of course I want it to succeed, and I thought that
I actually do want to see this one.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson's also, I think, a good choice.
And he's a fine actor. Everybody rags on him for Twilight, but number one, Twilight was 100 years ago. Number two, you've seen him in other things and he's been good.
Yeah, exactly.
And number three, he himself takes the piss out of Twilight. He's like, oh no, you don't like the movie. They paid me $1 million jillion. Like, of course I did it.
Well, not only that, but like he's also at the point of his career where he doesn't do anything unless he likes what he's doing.
It's like Daniel Radcliffe. He does whatever the fuck he wants. Swiss Army Man, sure.
Yeah, like Guns Akimbo, just because it's fun and
it'd be weird if I was in this. Sure.
Yeah,
fine.
Exactly. Swiss Army Man's the ultimate of that. Jeez,
that movie is so good. I didn't think I didn't know if I'd end up liking it. Like, just listen to the title, but that movie's amazing.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm not exaggerating.
I don't know if I could rewatch that movie over and over, but like, oh my god, that first time.
It's one of those movies like if you gotta hope to God that nobody explains to you anything about it.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of it is just being surprised about what's going on.
Yes.
Because it has a very unique premise.
Extremely.
And, there's nothing else like it.
Yeah.
Nothing else like it. So I think it's really good. But anyway, Batman is good. The Batman is good.
Yeah, it sure looks good.
And this last one is yours. Kind of ending on a bummer note here.
This is a downer, but rest in peace to... Maybe you recognize this name, Gary Paulsen, the author of many books, but I know him best for The Hatchet. Do you remember The Hatchet from, like, middle school?
I did. I read it. It was a story about a kid who got lost in the woods, and basically all he had with him was his hatchet. It was his only resource. So
he had very little on him. Yeah, because he was on a plane to, like, see his dad or something.
Yeah.
Pilot has a heart attack. Plane crashes. Oh, fuck. The first thing he had to do was get out of the plane because it crashed into a lake, so he didn't just immediately die upon impact, but he's under a lake now, and he had to get out. Now what do I do? So he's got to survive. Like, it's not even about getting to the destination. Like, if you're in the middle of giant-ass woods, wandering is probably not what you want to do. So he establishes a location and just survives for fucking months. And it's just interesting to see the journey he goes through. A journey through time, really, like not so much distance.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Castaway before Castaway, like but like it was very it was one of those movies that it was one of those books that like lots of kids read in middle school. Like lots of kids. It's up there with The Giver. Like The Giver is another one of those.
Yeah, there's certain classics. I don't know what the middle school curriculum is now, but that was certainly the norm back then.
Yeah, it was just one of those books that was like, a Caldecott winner or whatever.
You'll probably read this. Yeah. It's a good book. The only thing, it's funny that I never even thought about this. Someone had to point it out to me, was just the bullshit of his water supply being just this stagnant lake water for months. In retrospect, yeah, but otherwise that book's freaking great.
Yeah, I mean, a river, I buy that, but not
Yeah,
not
a lake.
not a lake.
I
Yeah.
don't know, man. I don't know. Man. And the ending was quite interesting as well. I like the way they handled it.
Yeah, but it was pretty neat how just how uh, they basically tell you how useful a fucking hatchet can be because of
Yeah.
what you could do with it. I mean, he cut down trees, he hunted with it, he built shelter with it, like the whole bit. So started fires with it. I remember
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Like off of a flint.
And what I also found interesting was him getting used to just the animals around. Like, there's one part where like a bear was like rifling through his food, and he's like, "Oh, fuck off!" And he like, not hard, but like kind of kicks the bear, and then he realizes,
Oh, I kicked a bear.
you don't want to piss off a 10,000 foot tall bear. And same goes for like wolves. He's like, "How do I keep the wolves out of here?" And then he realized like how dogs and wolves operated, and he just straight up just urinated around his space. Wolves approached, realized, oh, this is someone else's, and just kind of didn't bother. And he's like, oh, that shit actually works. So it was kind of cool. I don't know if it would work if a human did it necessarily, but it was a clever idea.
I mean, he gets off
might.
easy with some of the things that happen, but
Yeah.
it's a kid's book.
Yeah, there are certain things where it's like, I don't know, but like it's a fun read.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and it's definitely in that like Jack London kind of vein.
Jack
like
London's,
the great outdoors.
Well, Jack London. Well, okay. Well, to be fair, both books actually do have this vibe, but Jack London's largely about, at least from what I've read, the incredibly unforgiving outdoors.
Yeah.
With
this is more like Taming the Wild kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
with the hatchet, it's like, you better learn. And with Jack London, it's like, you better already be ready. This shit will kill you.
Yeah.
Like, if you've ever read To Build a Fire, that guy
yeah.
was not ready. And, like, the story opens with him, like, spitting. And, like, he expected his spit to freeze when it hit the ground, but, like, it froze in the air and, like, crackled in the air. And he's like, okay, it's fucking cold.
To start a fire, I remember a lot of the problems that he encountered were because of his inexperience.
Inexperience and hubris.
Yeah, exactly. Like if he had just stayed put, and didn't expend a lot of his energy and stayed.
Yeah.
If he stayed kind of hold up, you can actually use snow as an insulator.
Well, that was another thing. Toward the end, he makes a really stupid decision regarding how to keep warm.
He runs, doesn't he? He starts running.
Well, no, like, because he was with his dog.
Oh, yeah, I
and
remember
he was
that,
starting to go a little crazy with delirium, I think, and he was going to kill the dog for warmth, but it's like, number one, you said snow. Number two, you could use the dog when it's alive for warmth.
Yeah, you can cuddle.
And the dog's like, I'm out of here.
Like, humans and like, your dog does it to you when you sleep with your dog. Like,
yeah, like they have
night.
Body heat, they're alive, yeah.
Also, like, a dog will, like, your dog will do that with you.
Yeah,
They're
like,
loyal enough.
The story
to
made
do
the point specifically
Yeah.
that the dog, like, had a better idea of what to do than the man did.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, they are.
Yeah, they would, yeah.
They would. But, like, also, it's like, you... If you're ever in trouble and it's a snowstorm and it's really windy, dig yourself a hole in the snow.
I was going to say, like, brace yourself and, like, set up a shelter or something.
Even just digging a hole in the snow and then just staying there is better than anything. Like, better than nothing, because it will protect you from the wind, and it will actually insulate your body heat. So, believe it or not, like...
Well, I mean, it's like those igloos up north. It's like they make of fucking ice, but wait, they keep you warm.
It's kind of funny. But, yeah. Anyway, any other things before we wrap up here, Lotus?
No, I think we're good.
That is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, where we will continue to talk about Tim Burton's Batman. We're going to move on to Batman Returns. with the next episode. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything. Just give me a heads up, let me know who you are and how you know me.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Well, that's wonderful. We will catch everybody on Thursday then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.